You get into any trouble last night?
Hell yeah.
Oh yeah? Doing what?
Nothing.
Oh yeah.
Hell yeah.
Picard Episode 2 Remembrance was filled with references to Star Trek movies, TV shows, and comics. There wasn't an entire room dedicated to Easter eggs like we saw in Episode 1, but we still have a lot to talk about. The episode begins 15 years in the past, on the day synthetics attacked Mars. They attacked on First Contact Day, the Federation's biggest holiday. This celebrates the day when Zefram Cochrane first used warp drive. Vulcans made contact with Earth and turned human civilization around.
It unites humanity in a way that no one ever thought possible when they realize they're not alone in the universe.
We actually saw this event in Star Trek First Contact.
Live long and prosper.
It's interesting how these working stiffs are complaining about having to work.
Every other Tri-High station in the yard gets off First Contact Day. Not us.
But they're not getting paid because the Federation doesn't use money.
What does it mean, exact change?
It just goes to show that in Roddenberry's future, everyone is happy to do their part, even if they miss out on time off. And we've already seen footage of the attack in the previous episode in the short trek Children of Mars, but this is the first time we've seen the cause of the Mars attack. And by the way, I can't hear Mars attack without getting Tom Jones stuck in my head. It's interesting that the synthetics all have yellow eyes and appear to be modeled after Data. In the TNG episode Measure of a Man, Daj's creator, Bruce Maddox, wants to dismantle Data and create thousands of synthetics to use as workers and soldiers. Now, he lost his case to do that, but it appears as if the Daystrom Institute used B4's body to replicate Data's basic design.
I find some of what you propose intriguing.
And, like Data, these synthetics have a terrible sense of humor.
You get it? No.
You told a joke.
Yes.
I am not laughing.
Yes.
The humans are complaining about the replicators, saying,
They go back to using Uno amino matrices.
this is actually a reference to the short trek Q&A.
Do the food synthesizers use the Gupta or the Katzmann glucose matrix?
We use the Una matrix.
Then the synthetics attack, and it is brutal.
Do you have any idea who is behind this attack?
Yes, the episode gives a huge clue about who was behind the attack and why. Picard's housemates, Zabin and Laris, used to be members of the Romulan secret police, the Tal Shiar. The Picard Countdown comic gives their backstory. Basically, they were supposed to steal Picard's ship, but after meeting him, they thought he was a pretty cool dude and joined up with him instead. Now they're outcasts from the Romulan Empire, and they help out on his vineyard. But in this comic, we also learned that the Tal Shiar never believed the Federation was actually going to help the Romulans, and they thought it was just a Federation ploy. Now this could be a big clue about who was behind the synthetic attack. We see the android F8 being reprogrammed just before ordering the assault. Later in the episode, Laris tells us about the real Romulan secret police,
And here we go.
We learn they've hated synthetics for thousands of years, but we don't know why. It could have something to do with the Romulans' original split from the Vulcans when they rejected the philosopher Sirach. Do you have any theories? Let me know in the comments below. So the one thing that hasn't made sense about the synthetic attack was the timing. Why would the Romulans sabotage the Federation while the Federation was trying to help them? Well, now we know. The Tal Shiar always thought the Federation was going to use the evacuation to destroy all Romulans, so they decided to strike first. And the Zhat Vash used synthetics because they knew the Federation would outlaw them afterwards.
Hell yeah.
The Tal Shiar have a long history on Trek, first appearing in the Season 6 TNG episode Face of the Enemy.
You don't act like a member of the Tal Shiar.
Laris also name-checks Romulan ale, which first appeared in The Wrath of Khan and gave Worf one mother of a hangover in Nemesis.
Romulan ale should be illegal.
Laris also mentions the Gorb, a race of lizard people that appeared in the original series and Enterprise. And then we go to the Romulan reclamation site of former Borg cube. Now we don't know for sure where this cube came from, but they are still dangerous.
When a cube undergoes submatrix collapse, the collective immediately severs its link to the afflicted population.
Now this implies that the collective still exists. So maybe in Voyager's finale, when Janeway used a neurolytic pathogen to kill them, it didn't get rid of all of them for good. Now, I'm wondering if this cube was acquired or at least defeated after Voyager's final episode. Like maybe Janeway caused a galaxy-wide shutdown of all Borg tech, which let the Romulans take over this cube. If you have a theory, let me know in the comments. I do like how the cube's damage is partially repaired with green Romulan force fields. That's a nice touch. Soji makes friends with a Trill, the same species as Dax on Deep Space Nine.
I was admiring your markings. If you don't mind my asking, how far down do they go?
All the way.
There are also a few Andorians, a species that's appeared in every Star Trek series, including the upcoming season of Discovery. This sign says there have been 5,843 days since an assimilation, like a workplace accidents board. Now, That's an interesting number. That's 16 Earth years. Very suspicious timing. The Romulans take over this cube at least 5 years after Voyager returns home, meaning it could have been disabled by the neurolytic virus in Voyager's season finale. Also, maybe the Tal Shiar discovered Borg tech that could hack into the synthetic systems and initiate the Mars attack. Soji is working to separate Borg members from the collective. This was extremely dangerous when the Enterprise attempted it with Picard and Hugh. On Voyager, they had a slightly easier time with 7 of 9. But now it looks like the procedure is becoming kind of standard. Picard gets a visit from his doctor, who served on the Stargazer with him. They also served alongside Jack Crusher, the late husband of Beverly and father of Wesley.
Shut up, Wesley.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
The doctor picks up an abnormality in Picard's parietal lobe. Now this probably indicates the brain disease Irumodic syndrome. Picard learned he had this disease in TNG's finale, All Good Things.
I did find a small structural defect in the parietal lobe.
The doctor also mentions this.
Remember that time in the fire forest on Calyx?
And I have no idea what he's referring to. If you do, let me know in the comments. When Picard enters Starfleet headquarters, we're treated to the original series theme. And I like how his jacket looks like the classic uniform from Next Generation. Also, his visitor badge is the Starfleet logo, but turns sideways to indicate that visitors are staying on the ground. There's also a hologram of the original Enterprise, NCC 1701, but it's the retcon version that we saw in Star Trek Discovery, which then turns into his Enterprise D. Anyways, the uniforms are consistent with the designs we've seen of future uniforms in past Trek episodes. The comm badges match what we've seen in Endgame, All Good Things, and The Visitor. Admiral Clancy gives us Star Trek's 4th F-bomb.
Sheer f***ing hubris.
Which I'm not cool with. You can't say f*** in Star Trek. You can't even say f*** on Screen Crush.
Are you sure it isn't time for a colorful metaphor?
She also mentions that 14 planets were threatening to leave the Federation.
14 species within the Federation said cut the Romulans loose or we'll pull out.
Now that's interesting because in the trailer for Discovery Season 3, the Federation flag has only 6 stars, implying that a lot of planets have left the Federation 1,000 years in the future. After Picard gets his diagnosis, he's seen reflected in this clock, showing that his time is running out. Not really an Easter egg, I just thought it was cool. But my favorite Easter egg of the episode is Alison Pill reading this collection of Isaac Asimov's robot short stories. Asimov is one of the most revered science fiction authors of all time. He's one of my favorites. He even coined the word robot. He was also mentioned in the TNG episode Data Lore.
Dr. Noonien Sung, my friend, happens to have been Earth's foremost robotic scientist.
Until he tried to make Asimov's dream of a positronic brain come true.
And Asimov was good friends with Star Trek creator Gene Roddenberry. Picard trolls fans with this cheeky comment.
I never really cared for science fiction.
Anyways, she mentions where Dodge went to school.
I checked with Regulus.
Now this is a reference from The Wrath of Khan.
If memory serves, Regular One is a scientific research laboratory.
Regulus is where Carol Marcus created the Genesis Cradle. A few of Picard's former crew members are mentioned.
You need a crew. Riker, Worf, LaForge,
I breathed a sigh of relief after hearing that Geordi was still alive. In the Picard Countdown comic, we see that he's designing new ships at the Utopia Planitia shipyards during the Mars attack. Alright, sorry about that. Sorry, it's stuck in my head. I just want you to share my pain. Picard goes to meet his former first officer, Raffi Musiker. She also appeared as a main character in the comic book Countdown. And I like this little detail that she dumps out her water to make room for Picard's wine. It's a nice visual way to show that she's interrupting normal life to go on his adventure. And this location is pretty cool. This is the Vasquez Rocks, which is famous in Star Trek lore. It's been used several times as an alien planet, but the first time was when Kirk fought the aforementioned Gorn. Here's an Easter egg that a Redditor found on the Commodore's desk. This is a replica of the Kirshara from the show Enterprise. This is an artifact that holds the teachings of the Vulcan philosopher Sirach. So it turns out that Romulans from the Zhat Vash have infiltrated the Federation, and they have apparently transformed their bodies into a human and a Vulcan. We've seen technology like this in Trek before, like when Kira becomes a Cardassian in Deep Space Nine, or Ash Tyler becomes a human in Star Trek Discovery. I'm also wondering if this spy is the brother that Narek mentioned in the last episode.
I had a brother.
I mean, you're changing your species, you might as well change your gender too. And the score in this scene is a reorchestration of the original Romulan theme heard in their very first episode, Balance of Terror.
I might get there. I will have no choice.
Something else I've been thinking about, it's interesting that in All Good Things, Picard asks Q if...
Is it part of a Romulan plot, a ploy to start a war?
And when this series kicks off, Picard is actually trying to discover a Romulan plot. And here's a fun Easter egg from the last episode that I didn't mention. In real life, Patrick Stewart, a very sweet man, rescues pit bulls. And the dog seen in the first episode, number 1, is one of his rescued dogs. Alright guys, that's all the Easter eggs that we found. If you know any, let me know in the comments below. And if you're interested in some research links, we've left some in the description below. For Screen Crush, I'm Ryan Airy.